A favorite saying of cheating men. One night, I received a message. The other party was a 25-year-old young girl who said she fell in love with a married man. Fortunately, the man loved her very much too. Most of these stories have extremely similar beginnings, and they sound familiar, as if they were lame plots concocted by third-rate novelists. They didn't step out of the box. Back then, the girl graduated from college and came to the company through application. The man is her boss. He is in his 30s, has just developed the maturity and wisdom of a middle-aged man. His career has begun to take off, and he is very good at taking care of others. Several times when she was late working overtime, the man sent her home in a gentlemanly manner. Seeing that it was not safe for her to rent in a village in the city, he helped her find a small apartment, but never said anything inappropriate. But over and over again, the girl secretly agreed and began to express hints, intentionally or unintentionally. Finally, one night when they were on a business trip, the two rolled together in tacit understanding. Then the relationship between lovers was tacitly confirmed. The man treated her well and sponsored the down payment to buy a small house. He regularly comes to spend the night every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and often takes time to take her out to play. He even shoulders the important task of urging her to achieve her goals. In the past 3 years, the girl has experienced rapid promotions and salary increases. The man loves her very much, and often confesses guiltily, "Except for marriage, I can give you anything." He did not break his promise. He was given money, love, sex, and even the future and future. He was almost a model of a perfect lover. I don't understand. If that's the case, why do you still find someone to talk to late at night? Because I met him in the mall a few days ago. To be precise, he was a family of 3, holding hands and talking and laughing. She said that at that moment she was struck by lightning, because the man repeatedly claimed that he had no relationship with his wife and was only trying to stay in the marriage for the sake of their children. She subconsciously stepped forward, and the man greeted her casually, smiling and introducing to his wife and children. "This is Zhao Li from the company." There was no other way. She could only force out a smile, but turned her back and burst into tears. At that moment, I felt like a mouse that would never see the light of day. I suddenly thought of Wu Qili. The story of the first half of her life is quite similar to this girl. At that time, she was still young and beautiful, and she won the Miss Asia beauty pageant in one fell swoop. Many men were fascinated by her beauty and pursued her in various ways. Jackie Chan was also one of them, although he was already a married man at the time. At the beginning, Wu Qili didn't like Jackie Chan at all, but the other party persisted in her efforts and would pack late-night snacks for her every day, even if she was filming until 2 or 3 in the morning. Even if she went abroad to work, she would find ways to send flowers to her hotel room. The intense pursuit melted Wu Qili's heart, and she fell in love straight away and fell into the man's tender trap. It is said that that year, a group of friends went to Wu Qili's home for dinner. While others only focus on eating, Jackie Chan will look around carefully, looking at the cabinets and the sofa. If he finds that the old one is broken, he will immediately ask his assistant to replace it with a new one. Women feel love through pampering, so flirting is often misunderstood as love, and passion is easily misunderstood as affection. But in Jackie Chan's eyes, that's just a mistake that men all over the world make. Isn't it just that he can't control his lower body? It was just a lustful dream for a while. Wu Qili paid a heavy price. When she insisted on giving birth to a child and forming a de facto marriage, the man who had doted on her began to ignore her and disappear, and even doubted the motives of her pregnancy. The two had a quarrel and became strangers to each other from then on. In the blink of an eye, 20 years have passed. The woman has lost her fame as she ages, but the man is still prosperous. When I dreamed about it at midnight, I wondered if Wu Qili would regret her decision back then. Is there love in an extramarital affair? Maybe. But this kind of love is so fragile that interests, crises, and even children can become its mirror, illuminating the so-called love with nowhere to hide. There is nothing new under the sun. The mental journeys of girls who have become mistresses are actually very similar. At the beginning, maybe it was just a show of love. Both parties are using the banner of love, but they cannot conceal its transactional nature. Of course, there are also people who compromise and hide in dark corners because of love. But as time goes by, almost all stories will take a turn for the worse. A woman who originally only wanted love and money began to want a home and a man to completely belong to her. Women are different from men. Men can achieve the perfect separation of sex and love, but women often fall into the trap of falling into each other step by step. I gave it to my body, then to my heart, and finally I wanted to give it to me for the rest of my life. The entanglement and possessiveness have grown lushly. The Book of Songs has said it a long time ago. It is still possible to explain the delay of a scholar. It is unspeakable to explain the delay of a woman. There are usually only two endings for a man and a woman who have loved and slept with each other, becoming a pillow partner, or becoming a stranger. Therefore, there are not too many stories about mistresses forcing marriage. Ling Ling in the first half of my life tried her best to break up Luo Zijin and Chen Junxing, and finally got into the house and became Chen's second wife. But what happens after you succeed in taking the position? They still make a lot of noise and become a resentful couple. If a marriage with original sin is not blessed, it seems that God has already laid the seeds of misfortune. You have to believe that it is difficult for someone who does not intend to marry you in the first place to give you a happy marriage. A man's willingness to marry a woman may not necessarily be because of love. He may have taken a fancy to her family background and used his wife as a springboard. It may be that life is not easy, and the other party happens to be the most cost-effective marriage partner, or he may be urged by his family and has no choice but to enter the siege. But if he is determined not to marry, the reason is really only 3 words: not loving enough. Do you think marriage is just about eating and sleeping together? Wrong. That is a legal relationship that is stamped and certified. It means that life and death are linked to each other for good and bad fortune. Give the other party half of the money, and bear half of the disaster. When necessary, even life must be divided into 2 parts to share. Relatively speaking, the cost of extramarital affairs is much lower. Sweet words were just a matter of upper lip touching lower lip, and the money he gave was only a few % of his property. As for those caring and caring things, they are nothing more than random charity. They are discounted and not valuable at all. I read a story about an arrogant third party who found his first wife with high morale. She thought that her first wife was a rough, yellow-faced woman who would be eclipsed by her beautiful face. Unexpectedly, as soon as they met, they found that the other party was wearing a set of expensive jewelry and had a dignified temperament and elegant speech. She subconsciously touched the small ring on her hand, feeling inferior and disheartened. Do you think you are his true love? No. At best he is just a safe and infatuated bed partner. He refused to give up marriage, and that love only had a short shelf life. Besides, someone who truly loves you will never let you be a mistress, because he is reluctant to ruin your life for his own desires. As the saying goes, if you like a flower, you will pluck it. If you love a flower, you will water it. It's better to find a good person and fall in love with each other innocently, then get married and have children. Then go shopping and eating arm in arm openly. When you come to the human world, you want to see the sun. Walk down the street with your sweetheart. Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.